everybody, it's Ronnie. How you doing? So today we're here with a little bit different kind of video. I know I've been doing the unboxings and product reviews and stuff like that, but I've been having a bit of trouble with my box subscriptions this month with my Wantables makeup box not coming yet and it being the 29th. I've put in 2 requests now and they've sent a replacement box that also didn't show up. And my Loot Crate's still not here, so I might be moving away from the subscription boxes and, still do my online shopping, obviously, and have videos for hauls and stuff like that. Maybe get a little bit more in real life and do some real life shopping. That would be kind of cool. Have a social life and see people. But that might be something we do a little less frequently. What I kind of wanted to look at doing with this channel is maybe taking it more in the opinion kind of direction. And I want to start doing it a little more serious structure. So I want to make sure I have sort of a monthly video that I put out with an opinion piece, and then maybe a couple little videos during the month. But I want to sort of start a monthly purpose of doing this, and I want to take a topic a month and really research and get an opinion on the whole thing, and then put the video out for discussion, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that I think we really kind of need to talk about. And I kind of want to give my opinion, get your guys' opinion, start utilizing the comment section a little bit more so we can have a little tit-a-tat and sort of talk, because there's some stuff going on that really in this world needs to be talked about and isn't being talked about. So we're going to try and do at least once a month a little bit more serious stuff. And, we'll probably still do shopping and shoes and stuff too. But, get some thought in there every once in a while. And to sort of branch into that, I started with something that I actually read in a gossip magazine at work. Because when I'm at work, if I'm reading a book and I get the noise that I have to go do the thing, then I get annoyed that I have to put my book down. But if I'm reading a magazine, it's just toss it aside, be done with it, don't care. I really don't care if I have to put the Kardashians over there for the day. It's fine. So this actually came from a gossip magazine, which, made me think that the story was probably bull, but the train of thought had trudged out of the station on this, and it led to a lot of really interesting points that I wanted to sort of have us discuss. So I actually thought a lot about this to the point where I came home and looked it up to see if there was, validity to the story, and I honestly didn't expect to find any. I expected to just fluff it off and whatnot, but it was an interesting thought experiment for the day for me. So I looked it up when I came home, and it was actually on CNN and Live Science. I found it on Daily Mail, Huffington Post. I'll link the story in the link below there. It was honestly in one of the gossip magazines. I'm not really sure which one. When I look up the link, it's all of them have a story about it, so it's one of them. But I'll put the link in the box below so you guys can read the story yourselves and sort of form your own opinions. But it was so interesting to me that I actually wrote some stuff, because I didn't want to miss and just sort of get lost on what I was saying. So basically what happened is a couple froze fertilized eggs. So they implanted embryos. They're actually frozen embryos that you can implant and, have a kid later. So they did this so they could have it at a more convenient time, basically, from what I'm getting these stories. And that's, totally cool. Do it when you want to. I don't care. If you've got the money to freeze embryos, give her. I don't care what you do. But then they broke up. So the woman in the story wanted to destroy said eggs. And she didn't want to have the kid with this dude anymore. And that makes sense. If they break up, they don't want to have the kid anymore. She wanted to destroy the eggs. Seems to make perfectly logical sense, right? He's suing her so he can keep the eggs and have the kids. And that is fascinating to me. That's like a million questions. I have so many questions, and the brain goes in a million different directions. So I had to force myself to stop and write this shit down, because I didn't want to miss anything, and I didn't want to get lost in my own head and be like staring at the camera for 10 minutes going, wait, I got this. So first off, it leads to forcing a woman to have a kid she doesn't want with a man she's not even with. Like, this chick is engaged to some other dude. So, that's interesting to me. Because, so, this is so, see, I wrote it down, I still got lost. But, so, here's his best case scenario then. He wins the eggs. He gets a surrogate. He has the babies. Yay! Question is, does she then have to legally claim these children? Because biologically, they're hers. And if she does legally have to claim these children, is she then financially responsible for their upbringing? Or does she have any legal, or does she just waive off her legal rights? Can she absolve herself of these children and just be done with it? And if she can, what does that say about the laws we have for men? Because to me, that seems like we might have to look into that. Because if the case here is that these embryos are children, and he can then take these children and have these children, biologically they're hers. She may not have wanted the kid, but the kids are here. So biologically they're hers. Is she responsible for them? There's guys every day who are in the same situation. They find themselves pregnant with some chick. They decide they don't want the child. She has the child anyway. And then hits him up for child support. He didn't want the kid. He told her he didn't want the kid. He suggested, the options that they may have. She decided to have the kid, and that's her choice. She can do that. But then he's responsible for that kid. He has to legally claim the kid. He has to pay child support for the kid. So if we then decide that a woman can opt out of all of this because she didn't want the kid, do we then have to have the discussion about doing the same thing for men? I think we do, and I think we should. I think this is a very interesting conversation because it does bring about that whole legal side of things, that what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. If we're fighting for equal rights for women, if a woman can walk away from a child she didn't want and not have to have legal responsibility for it, well, then shouldn't men have that option? If they're both equally responsible, can they not then be equally not responsible? I don't know. I got nothing. But it's a really interesting question. And I think it's one that we need to discuss. And does it actually lead to changes with the laws of men? Or do we just have separate laws for men and women? And if so, is that making that a feminist issue or a men's rights issue? Because at that point, it's not equality for men and women. It's I'm getting more than you. Could this be the issue that brings men's rights and feminism together? Probably not. That sounds like crazy talk. But it does lead to some interesting conversation. Wrestle of papers. So, it comes back, to me, it keeps coming back to the whole forcing a woman to have a child thing. And I'm sure in some extreme cases, there are women who are forced to have kids. I'm not doubting that. And that's awful if that's the case. And I know there are people who have made arrangements to have kids and then have made mutually grown-up decisions that one of them will not be in the child's life in any way, legally responsible, financially, none of it. And that's cool. That's your decision. That's all on you. Do you, boo? Because seriously, it's not my choice to say. If that's what works for you two, give her. Because seriously, it's more about what helps the kid grow and stuff. So do whatever you need to do in your situation. But for the most part, for daily, normal kind of life, for the most part, women have freedom of choice. Or at least they do in this country where I live. So, sure, there's protesters to ignore and signs to block out and whatnot on your way in, and there's a lot of guilt, and I'm sure there's emotional trauma. I've never gone through the situation, so I don't know. I'm sure it's not an easy decision in any way. to either give up a child to abortion or adoption. It is not an easy choice, and it shouldn't be an easy choice. It should be something that you struggle to make the decision with. This shouldn't be something you're doing on a monthly basis, in my opinion. But again, that's my opinion. So for me, it's not out of the question, but it shouldn't be something you're a frequent flyer in on a card every month. But regardless of your opinion on that, you have the choice. As a woman, you can choose to abort the child. You can choose to have the child adopted. There's a number of options for that. So right now, you have the option of not having a child. Men don't have that choice. If the woman decides to have the child, he is legally and financially responsible for that. This case, depending on how it plays out, could very well start the debate that changes that entire system. And to me, that is fascinating to think about. There's a number of fascinating things to think about here. And I have no idea how this will play out. I don't have the answers to a lot of the questions that I'm asking. And I think it does lead to a lot of interesting conversations, like things like, when does life begin? And if life does begin at fertilization, and these embryos are a life, then who decides who gets that, and does it become a property? Is a potential life a property that you can fight for in a court of law? That's an interesting question. For the most part, I don't know the answers to those, but I'm very interested to see how that debate goes. So I'm gonna keep an eye on this story, because I am extremely interested to see how this plays out. I don't know if it's going to change anything, but it could. And that'd be interesting. So tell me what you think. Do you think it changes all of that? Do you think any of this matters at all? Do you think that life begins at the embryo fertilization? Why? Why do you guys think the things you think about this particular topic? That's what I want to know. So pop it in the comments down below. Let's have a conversation. Because this is fascinating to me. And these questions are legitimately things that went through my head today about these. And I honestly don't have the answers. So if you're a lawyer and you're out there and you know more about the law than me about this, put it in the comments. I'm totally fascinated to find out that. And if you have an opinion on, the paternal rights or when life begins, or could a life be property, put it in the box, man. Let's have this conversation. I'm going to try and have us have a conversation once a month. So if you want to hit subscribe in the thing below, it'll keep you up to date on what's going on. We're still going to do fluff videos from time to time where we do hauls and stuff like that. I still have to show you guys the vanity now that I have the second unit up here. It's starting to take shape, and I'm digging that. But I'm going to make sure we take the time to sort of have a conversation when something cool happens, at least on a monthly basis. So let's have a conversation. What do you think?